Hey you all, also hi to fellow dressmakers. You're welcome to another interesting tutorial. I am Confidence. In this video, we'll be drafting, cutting and sewing this beautiful dress. The one you can see in the middle is the reference style, and the one you can see on the left and on the right is the one I made. So if you're interested in learning something like this, do watch this video to the end and let's get right into it. So I'll start with the front pattern of the upper bodice, and I already have this line marked out: the shoulder line, the bust point, the under bust, and then the waistline. The under bust is totally optional. In fact, it's not what they did on the reference style, but I want to do mine like that. Okay. So I'm going to get the shoulder measurement divided by 2 on the shoulder line. Then I'll go down to my chest line and get the shoulder measurement again divided by 2 on that point, and then I'm going to mark it out. I'm just trying to have a straight line, something like this. Now I'm going to, on the shoulder line again, I'll mark 3 inches just to use that to slope the shoulder. Then I'll come down here by 1.5 and then slant it to the 3 inches I have as the neck width yet. Now I'm going to measure what I have here and divide it by 2. Then on that point, I'll be going in by 1/2 inch. Now I'm going to get the bust measurement divided by 4 on the chest line. Then I'm going to use this curve to connect these 3 points this way. And that will be the armhole for now. Now I'll come to the bust point and take the bust span measurement divided by 2. I'll go to the waistline and mark the same thing, and then I'm going to connect the 2 points to make a straight line, and that's where we'll be taking the dart. And now on both sides of this line, I'll be marking 0.75, and that's 1.5. Then I'll go to the under bust and mark the same thing, 0.75 on both sides of the line. Then I'm going to extend the two line, like connect the two lines, the 2 points this way, and then use this part of my curve to curve from the under bust to the bust point like this. Like I said, this is totally optional. What you should do is to just connect from the dart intake we have on the waist all the way to the bust point without the contouring. Then I'll take the waist measurement divided by 4 plus the 1.5 dart intake, and then I'll connect it to the bust point this way. Then from the bust point on this side, I'll be coming down by 1.5 and slant it to the bust span, and that's the bust dart, because that's the difference between my front length and then the back length. The next thing now is to take the neck width, and then I'm using 3.75 as the neck width and 3.5 as the neck depth. Okay, if you feel that this would work for you, go ahead and do it. Otherwise, you know what works for your neckline. Then I'm going to get the midpoint of the shoulder slope, and I'm measuring from the shoulder tip to the 3 inches I used to slope the shoulder, not the 3.75 I'm using as the neck width. Okay, then I'm going to connect it to the bust span on the bust point just like this. Do you get that? Now what you should do is to just curve from here to here, like curve from the midpoint of the shoulder slope to your bust measurement, but that would be too much for me. So what I'm going to do is to take some as that, then the remaining one will be the opening. So here I kind of have 1.75 from the shoulder tip to this point, 1.75, then the other 0.75 I guess would be the dart intake. Then I'm going to slant it this way to the bust point just like this, and then I'll use my curve to curve from that point again to the bust measurement, just something like this. Like I said, you should just place your curve and then curve it to the midpoint of the shoulder slope. Yeah, but because I'm making this to suit me, that would be too much opening for me, so this would work just fine for me. So when you're done, you should have something like this, and then I'm trying to highlight this line so that we know what we are going for. Okay, the next thing now is to tighten this new curve because it will gape if you leave it like this. So you're going to target where it's likely to gape, and then you take out excess there. So here I'm doing 1 inch because 1 inch would do it for me. If you feel like 1 inch is too much for you, do 0.75 or 0.5. If you feel like 1 inch is even small for you, go ahead and do 1.25 or 1.5, depending on how much excess is likely to occur around that part for you. Okay, now going to the back, I'm going to get the shoulder measurement divided by 2 on the shoulder line. Then I'll go down to the chest line and mark my, yeah, 8.5. I'm using 8.5 as the chest line. Then I'm going to mark it out this way, and of course make it to meet the already existing chest line, the front chest line. Now I'm going to mark 3 inches, and then my 3.75 I'm using as my actual neck width. Then I'm using 1 inch for the shoulder slope, and I slope it to the 3 inches. Now I'm going to come down here on the center back by 3.5 and place my curve this way and curve it to the 3.75 I'm using as my neck width. Is that confusing? No. The next thing now is to get the length, the back length, and it's 15.5. The front length is 17 inches, then the back is 15.5 because I used the other 1.5 as the bust dart. Okay, so if your front and back length is not the same, you are going to do something like this, except that yours might not be 1.5, yours might be 1 inch, 2 inches, or even more. Then on the center back now, on this new back length, I would be going in by 1 inch because I don't want to do that. My fabric is kind of stretchy, so I do not even need that. So I'm taking a hole of 1 inch to contour the center back. Then now I'm going to start from the new center back contour line and take the bust measurement divided by 4. I'll go to the waist and take the waist measurement divided by 4. Then I'll be taking out half inch on the bust measurement I have there. Do you get that? Yeah. Then curve the armhole like this. The next thing now is to follow the center back contour line and add my 1 inch zipper allowance. If you usually use 1 inch for your zipper allowance, go ahead and add it. If it's half inch, go ahead and add whatever you usually use as your zipper allowance and you're comfortable with that. And that's pretty much about it for this upper part. Now I'm going to separate the two patterns. Then first I'll cut out the back pattern just like this, that you can see me doing it here. Then after cutting the back pattern, I'm going to cut the front part. First I'll have to close the dart, and to do that I will open the waist dart. Then I'm going to fold in the bust dart, apply my water glue, and then close it back. And now I'm going to blend in the side line. Then to close the gaping dart, I'll cut the armhole like this. You see what I did there? Then I'm going to open one of the dart lines, apply my water glue, then place it on the second dart line. Is that hard? No. So after doing that, you can see that the curve now is now distorted. Then I'm going to place my curve back this way and then recurve it just like this. Now I'm going to cut out every other necessary part of this pattern. Then after that, we move to the next level.
The love you give me. If I follow your hand, I beg
So after cutting out the patterns and cross checking, like matching it up to see if there's excess on any side, this is what it looks like. And even after transferring this to the fabric, I'll still go ahead and match it up so that I won't have one part longer than the other. And now we are going to transfer the patterns to this fabric. I have this crepe fabric and I have 3.5. They call this particular crepe azungwere in the eastern part of Nigeria, but I won't recommend you use this kind of crepe. It's really bulky, like it's really thick. Use a lighter weight fabric so that the dress will flow well and not be heavy when you wear it. Except it's what you want, but I don't recommend a heavy fabric. So after transferring the patterns to the fabric, this is what I have. I have the side front, which I cut out the lining with the same fabric because I'll be lining the front part. Then I have the center front too, and I cut out the lining. Even though this comes in 2 pieces, I'll have to join it to make it 1 piece. Okay, and now of course I notched where I'll have to join it so that it will give me the same size with the fashion fabric. And now this is the back pattern, which I'll be using bias to turn the neckline. Now let's talk about the skirt. So the skirt is 180-degree flare, not a full flare. You're not going to cut a full flare, just a 180-degree, the one that you have opening on one side and then you have the other part is closed. Then for the waist, when you're cutting the waist, make sure you have your waist circumference plus at least 4 inches. Do you get? Your round waist plus extra 4 inches. By the time you're done cutting the waist, you should have something like that, because you'll be cutting it on both sides so that you have the allowance needed to close it on both sides, and even to um join the drape that will be going to the front and also the zipper at the back. That's why you need a whole 4 inches extra added to your waist. So I will open it up this way, and then after doing that, this is what it looks like. Now we have the pieces for the front and then the one for the back. And then to confirm what I said, I would measure around the waist, yeah, and after measuring I have 17 and a half, and my waist is supposed to be 13 and a half, which is 27, yeah. So I have 4 inches extra added, and that's what I'm talking about. You should have something like that if you don't want to run shortage of allowance. Okay, now we'll be working on the front. Let's assume that this particular one is for the front. I'm going to fold it evenly like this, and now we are going to determine where we want the slit to be. Yeah, so if you want to use your bust span, you're going to measure what you have on this center front of the upper bodice. You measure it and then you mark it. Okay, or if you want it to be like what you have on the thumbnail, you're going to calculate it in a way that it will stop 2 inches before your next bust span, like from your side front waist, yeah, going to the other side. This is going to stop 2 inches before the second bust span. But whichever one you choose to do, okay, if you want to use your bust span, it's going to like sit on your lap. I don't know if I'm making sense. But yeah, whichever one you choose to do, you're going to just mark it on the waist, and then you place a straight rule and mark it straight down, and not what I'm doing here. This was a mistake on my part. This is a flare, so you're not supposed to measure the same value you have on the waist all the way down. No, you're going to mark it on the waist, then you place your ruler, and then you connect it straight down and not like this. This will make it shift. This is a flare and it's going to flow, so it's going to make it shift when you wear it. Not like it's anything serious, but if you just want it to sit directly on your lap, you're going to just mark it on the waist and then you connect it straight down. Yeah. So now I'm trying to pin it down so that it will not shift when I'm cutting or when I want to do the other part of this skirt. Okay. And then another important thing you should take note of is which side of your body you want this to sit. If it's the left hand side or the right hand side, whichever one you want to do, please make sure of that before cutting, because once you cut, you cut chakwala. So we are being mindful of that particular aspect. Okay. Now after slitting it all the way down, this is what it looks like. Now what we'll be doing now is to work on the drape. So I'll come to the waistline on this side and come down half inch. That's like my joining allowance. Then from that point, you're going to measure down to your hip line. Let's say my hip line is 8 inches. Then I'm going to add extra 8 inches to that. Okay, 8 to 10 inches. Yeah. But if you decide to do it from the down part, you're going to measure between 10 inches upwards, depending on the length you're working with. I think my length is longer than what we have on the reference style, like what we have on the thumbnail. So yeah, it's better you do it from the up. If from your hip line, you are adding extra 8 inches or 10 inches. Then coming to this side, we are going to do the same thing, like um mark half inch joining allowance before taking the measurement. But first notch this side so that you know that this is the side and that's the part where you want the drape to stop. Okay, so now we are also going to mark our half inch joining allowance. Then whatever it is I have on the side, I'll be minusing 6 to 10 inches from that. So I have 18 on the side, yeah, from this point all the way to the waist, I have 18 inches. So I'm going to come here and minus 6 inches from that. I ended up doing 8 inches, but don't worry, we'll get to that. For now, you should minus 6 to 10 inches from what you have on this side. So I'm going to mark it now and even notch it on both fabric, like both sides, so that I know that this is where the drape will be stopping on this side. Okay, now you're going to cut the piece for the drape, and you're going to use the bigger flare. This flare is 2, yeah, so you're going to make use of the bigger one. But let me not confuse you, let's do the sleeve, then we'll go back to that. That will be when we start sewing. Okay, so you're going to fold your fabric. I have 4 folds, meaning that I'm cutting for the 2 sleeves. So what I'm going to do now is to measure what I usually use to cut out my basic sleeve, which is 9 inches. So when I measure it, I'm going to mark it out like this, and the other excess will be the excess I added for the bell sleeve. Now I'm going to measure the length. My sleeve length, long sleeve length is 23, and I'm adding extra 3 inches, making it 26 inches. So the whole length now is 26 inches because I want it to go beyond my wrist. Okay, and now this is the length. The next thing I'll do now is to come here and come down to what I usually use to curve my sleeve, my basic sleeve. Then I'm going to curve it out this way. Make sure you have what you should have here. Just cut it like you're cutting your basic sleeve. The other excess will be going to the down, right? And now you're going to connect it like this. You can see how I freehand it. Then you will try to like contour this part so that it's not really big on that side. It should be flaying on the down part, not from your upper arm. Okay, so now I'm going to cut this out, and then I will be using 1.5 to like blend in the hem on this side. Come up 1.5, and then you blend it into the other folded part. Then make sure you have what you should have on both sleeve, like one is no longer, and then notch the midpoint of the sleeve. When you open it up, you're going to notch one of this side. I choose this part and I notched it, both the 2 sleeves. Okay, and now you're going to take off this curve here. Just eliminate this curve. Can you see that? Just blend it smoothly so that it's not sharp. Then again, notch the midpoint of the sleeve, and then you go ahead and cut a facing that won't be going all the way to the sleeve, like it's a facing. It's not lining. Okay, so I'm trying to see if this one will give me one of the facing, then I'll have to cut the second one. But while sewing, I'll be showing you what else you can do in case you don't want to do this facing thing. And then again, notch the midpoint on this facing too. So now we are going to start stitching, and then for the back, like I said, I'll be using bias to pipe the neckline. I'm not using lining for the back. Okay, and there's no dart, so we are just doing the neckline. Then for the front part, I will be taking off the pattern paper on this center front. Then I'll open it and then take off the pattern paper on this side too. Then match up the under bust notch. Yeah, I notched the under bust, so I'm going to match it up this way, pin it down and pin it on the waist too. Then I'll go ahead and do the same thing on this other side, match up the under bust notch, pin it on the waist. Then I'm going to join it with my 1/2 inch until you get to the end, but make sure you're not stretching it. Okay, and after that I'm going to repeat the same thing. I'll have to join the lining first, like the center front, and then after doing all of that, this is what it looks like. I'm done turning and ironing this out, and then the joining I have on this lining is even good because at least I know which one I'm using as the fashion fabric, and then the other one is lining. Now I'm going to place it right side facing right side, lining and then the fashion fabric. Okay, and then at this point, if you want, you can go ahead and pin it down. Then I'll go ahead and turn the neckline and also turn this armhole with less than 1/2 inch. I did not add up to 1/2 inch stitching allowance, so I'm doing turning it with less than 1/2 inch. Then after that, I'm going to turn it to the right side and iron it out smoothly. And so far, this is what we have with the back. I have piped the neckline like I said I would, fixed the zipper, joined the skirt to the waistline, and then I have this pocket here, which is not necessary. It's totally optional. Then for this zipper, you see that I did not open this all the way down. I stopped somewhere, then I stitched it in a way, the same way you stitch your dart. That's how I closed it down there. Okay, now let's work fully on the front skirt. So far this is just what I have. I joined the skirt on that way. It will help me know that this is the 2 sides. Can you see that? And this other part is still untouched. So I'm going to take off all the pins I have here, then take out the smaller flare because you'll be making use of this bigger flare. And then you're going to cut out a piece looking like this, giving a shape, just something like this. So to cut this out, you're going to measure what you have on the waist of the bigger flare. That two pieces flare we have for the front, you're going to measure the bigger one, the waistline. Then whatever you have on the waistline, you're going to add 5 inches to it on the down part, meaning that the down part should be bigger by 5 or 6 inches than what you have on the waistline. It's pretty simple. Then you're going to curve it on the down part, making sure that one side is lesser than the other side. Trust me, this is not too hard that you cannot do it. It's pretty simple. Now you're going to place it this way. That longer part will be going to this side, of course. So when you're like curving it, make sure you know what you're doing. The longer part should be going to this side, and then the other shorter part will be going to the this other side. So you're going to place it wrong side to the right side of the flare, and then you're going to pin it down where you notched. Now this is supposed to stop. I don't know what I was doing here, but I ended up like that. So that notch that you can see there, place it there and notch it and like pin it down, and then you also pin it down on the waist. Then the other excess, you know that that's the allowance you'll be using to plait. And then on this part too, you're going to pin it down on the waist. Then this part is where I had to go up 3 inches more than what I have on the notch, because I noticed that there was no much difference with what I have on the other side. So I had to make it slanted as it is on the thumbnail. And before doing this, please do it to like fold the hem of that piece. And then after that, you join this other smaller flare to it and stop where you want your slit to start. And that's pretty much about it. So far, this is what I've come up with. Now, what I did here was I folded the allowance there. When you join the shoulder, the joining allowance you have left on this other side, you're going to fold it. And what I did was to glue a hemming gum there. I apply a little liquid gum and then place the hemming gum there, so that when I iron it is going to like fold in like that. And this is what I was saying. I ended up maintaining what I notched, that notch that I have there, and then this part is where I came up about 3 inches down what I have on the notch, because like I said, I noticed that it was not much, it's not slanted enough from the side. So yeah, and then you have your plate, and you can already tell that this came out so well. So this the plate on this side is not much because I did not add much allowance to it, just as it is on the thumbnail. And then this one, there is much allowance for plates. Then like I said, you're going to stitch it to where you want your slit to be, and that's pretty much about it for that side. Now for the sleeve, I have gone ahead to hem it, like fold the hem this way, but I'm yet to iron it. Now you're going to sit midpoint to the midpoint, like the midpoint of the sleeve to the midpoint of the shoulder, just like this. And also going to make sure that you're using for this side is the one you're supposed to use. Remember, we have the part that is supposed to go to the front armhole, so please make sure of that. And then now I'm going to pin it down from the end of the armhole or to the midpoint of the shoulder, just like this, which is telling you that you should cut out your sleeve in a way that it should go around your armhole with no excess and no shortage. Okay, now you come to the front armhole this way and you are coming in by 3 inches. I don't know how much allowance you added to the side, but mine is 1 inch. So basically from your side allowance, you're going to come in 2 inches. This 2 inches works just fine. Anything less than these 2 inches is likely to show your armpit. So have that in mind. Then you come to the sleeve too, and then you're coming in from the side 2 inches, just like this. The 1 inch is because we take out 1 inch on the front armhole. Remember that, yeah? Then the other 1 inch is because your shoulder is kind of bigger than the upper arm. If you notice, your shoulder is kind of sloped down going to the upper arm. So the other 1 inch is like to contour the sleeve so that it will sit well on the upper arm without gaping. Then that 2 inches you marked on the sleeve should be going out. It's no longer part of the sleeve. So what you're going to do is to pin from that 2 inches to the 3 inches we want to stop stitching at. Okay, meaning that you're stitching from here to the 3 inches and that's it for this particular side. Okay, I hope this is not confusing in any way. And then this other side, you can see the excess we have. Can you see? That's how it's supposed to be, so that it will wrap well around your arm with no form of gaping. Then you're going to stitch it from the midpoint of the shoulder all the way to the other end. Now when you're done with that, you're going to turn it to this other side. You can see now that the dress is facing me. Then you bring in that you're facing, match it the midpoint to the midpoint like this, and then you're going to sew. While sewing this part, this is where the keyhole is going to be. Yeah, instead of sewing with just half inch, you sew with about 0.75 or even 1 inch to open it up the more. But if working with the facing will be hard for you because of the keyhole, go ahead and just fold it in this way and then use your hemming gum or any gum of choice to hold the fold there. Okay, but then I'll be doing facing since I already did it on this other side and it came out neat. So just like I said, after joining the sleeve, you join the facing, and while top stitching, I top stitch with hemming gum, as you can see it here. Then this other side, you can see that even after top stitching, I still have about 0.75 allowance, meaning that I sew with 1 inch. Yeah, and this is what it looks like. I'm okay with this. So when you're done, you are now going to cut off this. I don't know why I didn't show you how to do that, but it's not hard now. You're going to like blend it in like this, cut it out there, and that's pretty much about it. You join the sides and your dress is ready. So you're after joining, ironing, and then fixing the pearls. I have the smaller pearls and I had to make use of what I had. Okay, and this is what it looks like. Now this is what I was saying why cutting, because of this slit. So you take it, once you get where you want it to sit, either on your bust pan or anywhere, you're taking it straight down and not measure it the same way I did mine. Okay, then this is what I did here too. You can see the amount I folded in. Yeah, if you're comfortable with that, go ahead and do it, or you just like stitch it, like fold and stitch like they did on the thumbnail, so that it won't even be obvious that there's any slit there. And yeah, this dress came out so well. And with that, we've come to the end of our tutorial. Do let me know what to think in the comments, and I'll see you on my next one. Be good. Bye.